Have you ever wondered why we are so emotional about money? The strange thing is we believe we make money-related decisions with logic, but the truth is every spending, every swipe, every impulsive purchase doesn't come from our brain. It comes from our emotions. When we're sad, we buy things. When we're bored, we browse and add small things to the cart. And when it feels like life isn't listening to us, we spend money just to prove to ourselves that we still have control, like telling ourselves, I still have a choice. Ever gone to a mall without a list? There's a weird excitement. Maybe I'll buy something today, and then you see something and suddenly feel, I need this. Even though a week ago, you didn't even know that thing existed. And it's not just you. It happens to all of us. We think we're buying things, but in reality, we're buying feelings, confidence, validation, belonging, distraction, or just a tiny burst of happiness that fades in a few hours. And then there's comparison, the most dangerous spending trigger of our generation. Someone buys a new phone, and suddenly our old one feels useless. Someone gets a new car, and we feel left behind. We see branded shoes, new AirPods, or a luxury watch on someone, and a voice inside whispers, I want it too. But have you ever asked yourself, do you really need it, or are you just responding to insecurity? The funny part is, brands know this. They're not selling you products. They're selling you identity. They whisper, if you wear this, you'll stand out. People will notice you. You'll feel valuable. And we believe that whisper. We don't spend logically. We spend out of loneliness, stress, and comparison. And then comes the guilt. You buy the item, feel excited for a few hours, and then the emptiness returns. But this time, it comes with regret. Have you ever paused and asked, when did this pattern start? In childhood, when we wanted something, a chocolate, a toy, something small, and we got it, it made us feel like the world was okay, life was good, and everything was under control for that moment. And maybe that's why, as adults, spending becomes comfort. Because spending money is easy, understanding emotions is hard. And the more painful truth is, we're experts at justifying our spending. We tell ourselves, it's an investment, it was on discount, I'll need it someday. Or the most dangerous justification, I worked hard, I deserve it. But deserve and need are two very different things. Needs are small, but desires have no limit. If spending truly made people happy, then why do so many people, even the ones who buy expensive things, still feel empty? Why do people say after every weekend sale, I shouldn't have bought this? Why, after spending so much, do we still carry financial stress? Maybe because we're buying temporary happiness, not permanent peace. Morgan Housel says we fight two battles with money, one with today's desires and one with tomorrow's security. And most people try so hard to win today that they end up losing tomorrow. The truth is, you're not broke because you have less money. You're broke because you do what everyone else does, emotional spending, impulsive spending, and buying things to fill emptiness. And if hearing all this stings a little, maybe it's because somewhere deep down, you know it's touching your reality. Sometimes we believe that the biggest need in life is comfort. We think that if life becomes easier, if things become smoother, if we get a little luxury, then we'll finally be happy. But maybe the truth is the opposite. Comfort feels good in the beginning, but slowly it becomes a habit that makes us weaker from the inside. And the most dangerous part is we don't even recognize it as a trap. We start calling it achievement. Earlier, we used autos, then we got a bike, then we thought, now I need a car. First, normal shoes were enough. Then we wanted branded ones. First, regular coffee worked. Now we want cafe coffee. Every comfort creates the need for a new comfort. And that cycle never ends. We don't want to accept it. But the truth is, we don't buy things because they're necessary. We buy them because we want a life we see others living or the life we believe we should have. Slowly, this spending habit stops being a lifestyle and becomes our identity. And that's where the real problem begins. Because comfort gives temporary happiness, but permanent dependency. And that's how the trap begins. Slow, silent, invisible. We get so used to small conveniences that we can't imagine life without them. If the AC stops working, we say, living like this is impossible. If our phone gets slightly old, we feel, this doesn't suit me. But the real question is, since when did our worth start getting measured by things? Since when did convenience become our emotional stability? Morgan Housel says, one of life's biggest illusions is believing that if things get easier, they'll get better. But reality is the complete opposite. The more comfort we buy, the more our expectations grow. What used to be normal now feels unacceptable. What used to be luxury becomes routine. And then we spend more just to maintain that level, whether we earn enough or not. And that's where financial stress begins. In trying to maintain comfort, we lose peace. We keep collecting things, yet fulfillment stays missing. And slowly, we start fearing ourselves because we realize we're no longer in control. Our spending is. The most dangerous part of the comfort trap is that it slowly makes us emotionally numb. When life is no struggle, when everything comes easily, gratitude disappears. Small wins stop mattering, and happiness becomes expensive. Small things no longer excite us, and even big moments give only short-lived joy. And at some point we realize that while chasing comfort, we walked away from discipline, difficulty, and delayed gratification. And those are the things that actually built growth. Maybe that's why the most peaceful people in the world aren't the ones with the most expensive things, but the ones who know how to live with less. They know comfort doesn't come from buying. It comes from understanding what enough truly means. But most people realize this late. When a credit card bill wakes them up, when guilt feels heavier than the purchase, when life feels controlled by some invisible pressure. If you really think about it, you'll realize the most beautiful things in life were free. A family's laughter, a fresh air walk, a real conversation, a good night's sleep, a quiet morning. But the comfort trap pulled us away from noticing them. We kept chasing the next thing, the next purchase, the next upgrade. And somewhere in that chase, we forgot how to breathe. Maybe now is the moment to ask yourself, am I comfortable and happy, or am I just comfortable and happiness has gone missing? And if that question stirs even a little discomfort inside you, it means you're finally waking up. Have you ever held something in your hand and asked yourself, how much is this? And then instantly decided whether to buy it or not. But the real question is, are price and value ever truly the same? Most people look only at the price when they spend money. But smart people look at the value. Price is what you pay at the store, and value is what that thing gives to your life. And this is where most people make the biggest mistake, because price is visible, but value is something you feel. Think about it. You bought an expensive pair of shoes because they were limited edition. You were excited, dopamine was high, and for a few days you felt, this is worth it. But slowly, the excitement disappeared, and those shoes just became another thing sitting in the closet. Now imagine you bought a book worth 10 times less, but that book changed the way you think, increase your income, or improve your behavior. Then which one was truly expensive? Our biggest financial mistake is this. We buy things based on quick emotion and then carry the burden of those purchases for years. The real challenge isn't spending money. The real challenge is understanding what will get a return in your life and what will only take up space. Morgan Housel says, before spending, don't ask, can I afford it? Ask, does this match my identity, values, and future? But what do? We see a sale, a limited offer, a flashing red timer, and our brain stops thinking. Later, we justify it. It was cheap. It was on discount. I'll need it someday. But these small purchases slowly become thousands in months and lakhs in years. And the funny thing is, no purchase is neutral. Every item, every decision changes how you think, how you feel, and what you prioritize next. If you keep buying cheap dopamine repeatedly, then long-term value will start feeling boring. And that's dangerous, because that's where spending addiction begins. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, when was the last time you spent money on something that genuinely improved your life? And when was the last time you bought something just because you were bored, lonely, or stressed? It's uncomfortable, but it's the truth. The smartest spenders aren't the richest. They're the ones who understand that the real value of something is not in its price tag, but in its impact. A gym membership can change your body, but a fancy dinner only improves your mood for one night. An online course can increase your earning, but a luxury outfit only looks good in one photo. A savings habit secures your future, but impulsive spending only satisfies emotions for a moment. And maybe that's why people with a wealthy mindset ask only one question before buying. Will this improve my life? Or just distract me for a while? Most people mistake distraction for happiness and later regret that they have money spent, but no value gained, just more stuff. And the truth is, stuff never becomes security. Habits do. If right now this realization feels uncomfortable, heavy, or personal, it means a message has hit you, and that's exactly where change begins. Have you ever noticed how before buying something you feel normal, but after purchasing, there's a sudden excitement? Like someone switched on an invisible button in your brain. That excitement, that thrill, that finally bought it feeling, that isn't happiness. It's dopamine. And dopamine is cruel. It promises happiness, but gives only a temporary high. And this is where the brain deceives us the most. Because dopamine doesn't let us think. It only pushes us to act, whether we need it or not. And the scariest part? The system is designed for this. Companies don't want you to think. They want you to buy. That's why notifications are red, sale timers blink fast, and only two left appears. So you panic and think, if I don't buy it now, I'll miss it. This isn't coincidence. It's science, neuroscience, psychology, whether you know it or not. Your brain is wired to react to these signals. But the real problem isn't that this happens. The real problem is that it keeps happening. You buy something and feel, this is all I needed. But a few days later, the excitement fades. Suddenly that thing feels ordinary, and your brain whispers, so what's next? That moment right there is where most people fall, because they believe happiness is just one more purchase away. Now think, how many times have you bought something just because you were bored, or because someone else had it, or because you wanted to feel better for a moment? That's not happiness. That's a temporary chemical illusion. And when it fades, the brain feels empty again. And we mistake that emptiness as a personal flaw, when the problem was never you, it was the pattern. Morgan Housel says, the brain wasn't built for happiness. It was built for survival. That's why when we buy something expensive, we feel proud. But after some time, it becomes normal. And then we crave a bigger distraction, another upgrade, another purchase, another chemical reward. But the truth is, dopamine purchases never give satisfaction. They only increase hunger. And hunger is dangerous because it stops you from being in control. You're no longer making decisions. Decisions are being made for you. Take a moment and look around. Do the things in your life make you better? Or are they just there so you can feel like you're living well? This question stings, but clarity always begins with discomfort. And maybe for the first time, a question is forming inside you. So, where does real happiness come from? If shopping isn't happiness, then what is? If that question is creating a little emptiness and then curiosity inside you, then you are finally facing the right direction. If you want to continue this journey, say just one word. Backhand index pointing right, continue. Have you ever noticed that most of the money we spend isn't actually for ourselves? It's to show others? Half of the things we buy aren't our need. They're our image's need. And the painful truth is, we rarely admit it. Most of the time, we don't make spending decisions from our heart. We make them from the fear of how the world sees us. Because we're scared. Scared someone might see us as less simple or ordinary. Think about it. When was the last time you bought something just because others had it? Or just because you thought, if I wear this, people will notice me? Or simply because you didn't want to look like you were behind someone else? That's comparison spending. And that's exactly the point where we start losing ourselves. Slowly, silently, without realizing it. And the funny thing is, people don't notice you as much as you think. The people who judge your clothes, your shoes, your phone, or your lifestyle, they would judge you anyway. And the ones who truly know you, they don't care what you wear, drive, or how expensive you look. Yet we spend money trying to impress people who don't hold any meaning in our lives. Morgan Housel says, people spend so much trying to look rich that they lose the chance to actually become rich. And that's the biggest irony. We want people to think we're successful, confident, financially secure. But deep down, we're scared someone might see the real picture. Pause. Here's a harsh truth. No one cares what you buy. People notice you for 3 seconds, and then they move on with their lives. but your bank account carries the weight of those purchases for years. If you pause and observe, you'll notice something. There are people with expensive things who are anxious, insecure, and financially unstable. And there are those living simply, peacefully, confidently. The difference isn't in the things, it's in the mindset. Now ask yourself an honest question. How many times do you buy something just to stand out? And how many times do you buy something because it will genuinely improve you? Our biggest problem is, in trying to impress, we forget to progress. And when spending is based on approval, you can never be satisfied because approval has no finish line. Today, someone praises your purchase. Tomorrow, someone buys something bigger. And suddenly, what you own feels outdated. This race is dangerous because it never ends. And a race that never ends doesn't give happiness. It gives exhaustion. You may feel these words are harsh, but sometimes harsh truths are the first step to transformation. And waking up always begins with discomfort. The question isn't what you buy. The real question is, why do you buy it? If that line made you pause, that's good, because now you're not just listening, you're observing. Most people believe saving means keeping the money they could have spent, but that's not the real meaning of saving. Saving isn't a habit, it's a mindset. And the painful reality is, people don't avoid saving because they can't afford to save. They avoid saving because they don't see instant results. We live in a world where everything is instant. Food, entertainment, attention, validation. And that speed has trained our minds to believe that if something doesn't give immediate results, it's useless, slow, silent, almost invisible. The first month of saving doesn't show change. The second doesn't either. Even the third doesn't. And your brain whispers, this is pointless. I could have bought something instead. That's where 99% of people give up because they want visible growth, not invisible progress. But the truth? Those tiny amounts, 100 Indian rupees, 200 Indian rupees, 500 Indian rupees, become habits over time. And habits shape the future. Morgan Housel says, small savings hurt your ego today, but protect your ego in the future. And this is where people lose. Because saving isn't exciting. Shopping is. Dopamine purchases are. But compounding, that requires patience. Think of a seed. You plant it. Nothing changes the first day, not the second, not for weeks. But underneath the soil, everything is happening. Growth isn't visible, but it's real. Saving works the same way. And here's another truth. No one becomes rich because they earned a huge income. They become rich because they didn't waste the small amounts. You don't become wealthy by how much you make. You become wealthy by how much you keep and where you put it. But then ego interrupts again. The ego says, I earn, I can spend. The future whispers, what if one day this income stops? But who do we listen to? The ego, because the ego is loud. The future is quiet. Pause. 1 second of silence. Now one question. If your spending habits haven't made you financially stronger yet, what guarantees they will in the future? This question isn't simple. It's uncomfortable. But this question reveals something important. Saving isn't sacrifice. It's security. Saving isn't boring. It's freedom. Saving isn't a weak decision. It's the smartest one. One day, you'll look at your savings and feel proud. Because that day you'll realize you didn't just save money. You created options. You bought independence. You protected your future self. And maybe for first time, before buying something, you'll ask, am I buying happiness for 1 hour or a better life? If that question is shifting something inside you, then you're finally on the right path. We often think wealth means big cars, branded things, an expensive lifestyle, and luxury choices. But the truth is very different. Real wealth is not the freedom to buy things. Real wealth is the ability to buy time. Money is just currency until it gives you the freedom to live life on your own terms. Think about it. How many times have you worked and thought, I wish I had more time. I wish I could rest. I wish I could do what I actually want to do. But then you tell yourself, not now, right now I have to hustle. And slowly, you forget whether you're working for money or money is controlling you. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Most people earn money just to pay bills, not to live. And that's the difference between rich thinking and poor thinking. A poor mindset sees money as a spending tool. A rich mindset sees money as a time multiplier. Because when you buy things with money, you're not only buying the item, you're also losing the time you spent earning it. Now ask yourself, was that time worth it? When you spend on expensive dinner, you think you're enjoying luxury, but have you ever thought about how many hours of your life paid for that meal? How much energy? How much mental peace? And here's the twist. The more expensive something is, the more maintenance, responsibility, effort, and stress it brings. You don't own things. After a point, things start owning you, and that's where the trap begins. Slowly, silently, without warning. Morgan Housel says, people think wealth is what they see, but real wealth is everything you don't see. Real wealth is quiet, silent, not visible, but deeply felt. You see the car, but you don't see the EMIs, the stress, or the compromises behind it. You see the expensive branded lifestyle, but you don't see the financial insecurity hidden underneath. Real wealth is in the bank, in saving, in investment, in the peace of knowing you don't have to struggle every month just to survive. And most importantly, real wealth is where you have time for yourself, your people, and your purpose. Now one question. If tomorrow morning you woke up and didn't have to work for money, what would you do? This question isn't simple. It's revealing. Because if you don't know the answer, it means you haven't lived, you've only run. One day, you'll realize the most valuable things weren't things. It was time. It was energy. It was peace. And if right now there's a voice inside you saying, yes, I'm not just earning, I'm losing too, then listen. That's not fear, that's a calling for change. If you don't just want to hear, but actually understand, just right, ready? Have you ever thought your relationship with money didn't start randomly? It began years ago, back when you were a child, when you didn't understand what money was, but you could feel how its presence or absence changed the atmosphere at home. If there wasn't enough money in your childhood, you probably saw tension, silence, worry on faces, hesitation before every expense. And without anyone teaching you, a belief formed inside. Money is always limited. It must be saved. Losing it is easy. But if your childhood was different, where money existed but came with rules, comparisons, guilt, or emotional pressure, then you didn't see money as freedom, you saw it as control. And if your parents showed off money, chased status, or constantly said, "What will people say?" then maybe you learned to spend not for need, but for approval. We think we control money. But the truth is, money controls us through our old experiences. Your every purchase, hesitation, guilt isn't just about today. It's conditioning built long ago. Morgan Housel says, people don't make financial decisions based on how the world works. They make them based on how they have experienced the world. That's why two people with the same income live completely different lives. One feels secure, the other constantly feels broke. The money is the same. The psychology isn't. Now ask yourself, when you spend money, which emotion is acting? Fear? Avoidance? Validation? Guilt? Or freedom? Sometimes we hold money because we fear losing it. Sometimes we spend it to fill an emotional emptiness. And that's where people get stuck, because the brain repeats what feels familiar. But in both cases, money isn't healing us. Money is covering the wound. Here's a brutal truth. If you're emotionally unstable, whether you get 100 Indian rupees or Indian rupee 100, 000, the pattern will stay the same. Earlier you couldn't afford it. Later you'll justify it. Because the problem was never money. The problem was the pattern. And until you recognize that pattern, you cannot achieve financial freedom. Sit with this question. Do you buy things because they're logical or because they're familiar? Because familiarity feels safe, even when it's hurting you. Now, one more question. If today you could reset all your financial habits, would you make the same decisions or would you choose differently? If that question puts you into silence, that silence is awakening. You can change, but first you have to accept your money behavior isn't random. It's a story written long ago, and now it's time to rewrite it. If you're ready to continue, just right, ready? If you look closely, money behaves differently between only two kinds of minds, a poor mindset and a rich mindset. And the difference isn't income, the difference is thinking. A poor mindset sees money as something to spend. A rich mindset sees money as something to direct. A poor mindset asks, can I afford this? A rich mindset asks, will this help me grow, or will it just distract me? A poor mindset fears the future, so it escapes into the present. A rich mindset builds a future, so it understands the present. And this is where most people misunderstand. Pause. Mindset is bigger than income. And here's a brutal truth. Most people are not trying to become rich. They're just trying to look rich. Morgan Housel says, being rich is what people see. Being wealthy is what no one sees. A poor mindset thinks, if I have expensive things, people will respect me. A rich mindset understands. Respect doesn't come from things. It comes from consistency. A poor mindset thinks, the faster I make money, the better. A rich mindset thinks, the longer money stays with me, the more powerful it becomes. A poor mindset looks for happiness in things. A rich mindset finds happiness in control. Now ask yourself honestly, when you think about money, what's the first emotion that comes? Fear? Stress? Urgency? Or possibility? Because mindset determines how you behave with money. A poor mindset says, money came in, so I should use it. A rich mindset says, money came in, now it should work for me. Now think, when you wait for the next salary, do you feel excitement or anxiety? If it's excitement, you look at money with possibilities. If it's anxiety, you look at money with responsibilities, not possibilities. And the difference isn't income, it's mindset. And maybe, for the first time, one small sentence is hitting deep. Backhand index pointing right, rich people don't have money because they earn more. They have money because they can control their desires. A poor mindset collapses in front of temptation. A rich mindset observes temptation and then decides. And if right now you're thinking, damn, this feels like it's about me, relax. This isn't guilt, this is clarity. And clarity always rises from the ashes of confusion. Now the final question, how do you see money today? As a tool or as a way to hide insecurity? Because when your mindset changes, you don't just change spending, you change the direction of your life. And if you're ready to take the next step of this transformation, just right, ready? Now, after this entire journey, one question remains. So what's next? Because awareness was only the first step. Real change begins when you stop seeing spending as a habit and start seeing it as identity. From now on, every expense won't just be a transaction. It'll be a choice, a decision, a statement. Who am I and who am I becoming? Now here are some simple but powerful rules that will reshape your financial identity. Rule number 1. If it takes less than 10 seconds to know whether you need it, you don't need it. Rule number 2. Before buying anything, ask, will this make me better or just keep me busy? Rule number 3. Never purchase in an emotional state. If you're sad, excited, bored, or trying to reward yourself, stop. Feelings are temporary. Purchases are permanent. Rule number 4. Spend money on life quality, not on objects. Education, skills, experiences, these give returns. Bought happiness evaporates. Earned growth lasts forever. Now you may ask, okay, but how do I start changing? Listen, change doesn't happen suddenly. It happens slowly, but intentionally. Starting today, you adopt a new rule. Backhand index pointing right. Before buying things, I will choose myself. What does that mean? It means you will treat saving not as punishment, but as respect for your future. You will treat investing not as risk, but as protection. You will stop letting emotions drive you and let awareness guide you. You will turn spending from escape into clarity. And then one day, without realizing it, you will be different. You won't feel excited in stores. You'll feel selective. You won't panic during sales. You'll remain patient. You won't feel insecure seeing others. You'll feel grounded. Your money won't decide your actions. You will. Morgan Housel says, Financial freedom begins when you understand you need far fewer things than you think. This line isn't harsh, it's liberating. Now, one final question. And this question can change the direction of your life. Backhand index pointing right, what kind of person do you want to be? The one defined by things or the one defined by choices? Because in life, there are only two paths. Either you choose temporary comfort through spending or permanent freedom through discipline. And if right now you feel both peace and fear together, congratulations, because that's exactly where transformation begins. Now there's only one step left, just one word. But that word is not just type, it's committed. If you're not just listening, but ready to change and move forward, right? Ready?